Oh god. Hey kiddos, Jester here. Welcome to the court. I did actually have like an actual video planned at one point today, but things just generally don't work out that way sometimes, do they? A few weeks ago, a friend of mine commented on a video about how I needed to get some sleep, and the following week, I told him he was right. Yep. Well, that's never been more true than it is this week. So given the fact that I am as tired as I am, I decided to be a little bit lazy, change up the plan, just a bit. And I'm going to talk about sleeping, as in how people should go about doing it, and how people sometimes go about doing it in a way they shouldn't, and how some people believe there are better ways to do it. I'm realising this camera angle is really bad. Ugh. Okay, so people in general on Earth, as opposed to the moon, work on a monophasic sleep cycle which is reliant on a circadian rhythm, which refers to a 24-hour day cycle. This is based around there being one big sleep that you have, most people say 8 hours, at night time. And it's reliant on, well, not reliant, it's, you know, conducive to the effort because of a bunch of other things, like when your lowest core body temperature is and when your brain produces melatonin and all this kind of stuff. Wow, I'm actually using my psychology degree right now. So there's a lot of really sciencey details that I'm not going to go into for this video. I'm just going to sort of stick to the surface info. There are two main pockets of, or types of stages that you have when you sleep. I mean, everybody's heard of REM. At least I'm hoping you've heard of REM. Not the band, the sleeping. As a stage, rapid eye movement, it's most widely associated with when you dream. But the truth is you can dream at any point during sleep, really. And then there's the possibly lesser known NREM, which rather intelligently stands for non-rapid eye movement. Guess what doesn't happen when you're in that stage? Actually, more accurately, NREM happens in 3 separate stages. And your sleeping... what? And your sleep starts in NREM 1. Or stage 1. This is when, like, you're just drifting off and your eyes are drooping and all that kind of thing. You're not, like, really asleep, you're just kind of getting there. Then there's stage 2, which is when you've finally dropped off and you're kind of hard to wake up. Kind of like in those weird survival movies where people are trapped in really cold situations, where they sort of drop off regardless of the situation they're in, you know, the environment they're in, and you have to shake them really hard to wake them up. That is actually important, by the way. If you're ever stuck in the Arctic or anything, for whatever reason, wake up people who are about to fall asleep. That's because in stage 3 you are completely what I like to call zonked out. Your body no longer reacts to environmental stimuli, as in things that would happen naturally in the environment around you. You can still be roused by another person, say, but bird song, chickens clucking, if that's a normal environmental factor for you on a farm or whatever. That kind of stuff won't wake you up because you're used to it, so it's like your brain just sort of like shuts it out. And once you get into that stage, the cycle starts, and there's this whole point about low core body temperature, and if you hit that while you're in the Arctic, oh, you're gonna have a bad time. And those 3 stages of NREM are what happen when you're not in the more widely known REM, but they don't necessarily happen in that order. In fact, REM isn't technically the final stage of your sleep. It's one of the most important, but it's not the final stage that, you know, like that you would be aiming for if you would be aiming for a sleep stage. You start off in NREM 1, yeah, and then you go into NREM 2, and then you might go into NREM 3. And you can dream in all these stages just as much as you can in REM, but there's something special about REM. But then before you actually hit REM, typically you go back to N2. Now a lot of this is due to like brainwave types and theta waves and alpha waves and all that, but like I said, I'm not going to go too sciencey because it bores the shit out of me. I'm too tired to keep track of my facts right now. And contrary to popular belief, you don't go through these stages just one time, like you go through all the ends and then hit REM and then you wake up again in the morning. Or probably some people believe you do the reverse of the N REMs until you wake up. That's not true! In fact, you can go through that string of phases in various combinations multiple times in one sleep cycle, in one batch of sleeping. And in the early hours of the night, or middle of the day, whenever, you hit N3 more often than you do anything else. And then towards the end of the night, as you're nearing waking up, in the last final 2 cycles, which is roughly about the last 2 to 3 hours of you actually being asleep, you hit REM a lot. Now the thing about REM is that when you hit REM, your brain waves, your EEG waves, electroencephalograph, which is all about electrical stimuli, electrical signals going through your synapses and all that kind of thing, ions, blah 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 blah. Science! That actually mimics the same signals and waves and measurements as when you're awake, which has baffled scientists for a long time. I say baffled, they have answers now, but it did at first. And most interestingly to me, because it's fucking funny, your vital signs mimic arousal. And do you know that thing that happens to men when they sleep, and you particularly notice it in the morning? Yeah, 80 to 95% of that occurs during REM sleep. So never admit to anybody what you're dreaming about, because, well, just don't do it anyway, really. Also in REM, they say most of your muscles are paralysed, other than that one. So if people tell you they're a restless sleeper that moves around a lot, you know, rolling over, splaying the legs, all that kind of thing, they're either lying or they have some sort of condition. And when I say lying, I don't mean lying, that, you know what I mean. Lack of REM sleep can lead to a lot of problems. Primary of which is the lack of an ability to learn complex tasks. Or in some cases, inability to perform simple ones. However, contrary to popular belief, you don't actually need a solid 8 or whatever, opinions differ, hours of sleep to hit REM. As I said at the beginning of the video, people in general work on a monophasic sleep cycle based on circadian rhythm, which is a 24-hour day period kind of thing. But there are other cycles you can adopt or adapt to, rather, if you're so willing. And these are generally called and lumped into the group of polyphasic sleep cycles. Now, if you're savvy on your Greek, I think, or is it Latin? Pretty sure it's Greek. If you're savvy on your Greek, you can pretty much guess what that means. But just in case, if mono is singular, one, basically. Poly is many, like monogamy and polygamy. What does it say about me? That's the best example I can think of. There are 3 really popular polyphasic sleep cycles, and when I say popular, I mean relatively so. Most people just stick to monophasic. And these are as follows. There's the Uberman cycle, which is 20 to 30 minutes of sleep every 4 hours, which is about 4 hours sleep, I think. Again, simple tasks. Yeah. Now, I think this would be the perfect one for me, just because I love naps, but it'd get pretty tricky around work, I think. But generally, it's considered to be very efficient because you're sleeping less, and people who do work on a Uberman cycle, or an Uberman cycle, sorry, report feeling healthier than ever, more refreshed on waking up, and say that they have much more vivid and even in some cases lucid dreams. But if you miss a nap, oof. Another one is the everyman cycle, which strikes me as being inaccurately named, is based around having the one core 3-hour nap, usually some point in the night, I guess over midnight, and then 3 20-hour naps at regular fixed intervals. Supposedly this one's easier to adjust to because of that longer nap that you can keep during the evening or night, and it's more flexible in that you can skip a nap if you absolutely need to. And thinking about it, I think this might be the system that I'm on completely by accident? And if so, I very much disagree with all the people that seem to say it makes them feel very, very healthy. Their actual words were no negative effects. Bullshit! And the last of the main ones is the Dymaxion cycle. Bucky Fuller, which is an amazing name by the way, invented this cycle based on the idea that he thought we have 2 tanks of energy in us. Now he's not comparing us to a car, like a Prius, where you've got 1 battery and 1 gas tank or whatever. He means, you know, like 2 sort of generic tanks of, you know, bodily energy, whatever, I don't care. He says the first is pretty easy to replenish, you know, that's your basic fuel, so I guess like petrol or diesel. But the second, which he calls second wind, Borderlands, is much harder to fill, I mean. That's what she said. Now most people think that this one must be the most ridiculous one because it's literally just 4 30-minute naps every 6 hours. That's 2 hours of sleep a day. I know, it sounds fucking ridiculous, it sounds fucking beautiful, but it also sounds ridiculous. But doctors examined him after a long time doing it, and they reported him to be perfectly healthy. So there you go. So monophasic, polyphasic, both with the upshots and downshots. Polyphasic are always considered to be much more efficient and possibly healthier once you get through the rigmarole of getting into them. But monophasic is just easier because it's what everyone's on, and it is literally based on the fact that we have a long night cycle within the 24-hour day cycle that we have. You know, sleep through the night time, kind of like an animal. Did I just say aminal? Kind of like an animal hibernating. But of course there's also the biphasic sleep cycles, and I say that as if there are more than one of them. There's pretty much just the one of them, and it's what students typically do. Party all night into the wee hours of the morning, then go to bed at like 3 AM, sleep for 4 hours, get up, go to morning classes, come home, have about an hour or 2 hour nap instead of lunch, and then skip afternoon classes. Don't do that, kids. Stay in school. Thanks for watching, kiddies. You've been awesome. This has been The Court. I've been something. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like what you see and you want to see more. Check out jesterconceptions.blogspot.co.uk, and I'll have a nap now. Bye.